my ribs hurt so bad still on day 94. I just want to go back to normal. I just want to start off by saying all over TV, everyone is saying that you have to be high risk, have pre-existing conditions, or elderly. I am young, I'm 38, I am a healthy person. I've always been very active. Anyone who knows me knows that I don't sit down. I'm a wife, I have 4 children. I've always been athletic. I've done basketball, I stepped, I cheered, just no issues at all. And I remember it like it was yesterday. March 9th was actually the day I got a phone call from my daughter. She went to Creekside High School and actually had the first teacher in the state of Georgia to get diagnosed with COVID-19. So that was very scary for us. I left work that day, it was a Monday, and I went to pick her up. It was crazy from school. A lot of military was outside. They had tanks there. They had SWAT there. They had barricades up at the school. I knew I needed to get my daughter out of that situation ASAP. I was successful, got her home, and that's when Fulton County schools closed down, March 9th. The weird part is I still felt healthy, felt good. My daughter was actually under the weather probably a few days before. Her school actually closed down. She was having a fever herself and it just felt really sluggish, but she shook it off. It was better in like 24 or 48 hours. So we just figured she had a little bug. That Wednesday, March 11th, is actually when I got sick. So 2 days after they shut down her school, Creekside, is when I started developing a fever. I had a really bad sore throat, body aches, chills, the whole 9. Like I mentioned before, I'm a very healthy person. I rarely get colds. So I just figured maybe it was a cold. You know, I have been really active at work. I'm in property management, so I work there 40 hours a week. And I also have my own tax business, so I was doing taxes this tax season. So with me working 70 hours a week, I just felt that maybe I was just tired, you know, from all the grinding that I was doing currently at that time. Lo and behold, it didn't get better. I didn't shake it off in 24 or 48 hours like my daughter did. The body aches got worse to the point where I couldn't even move some days. One day I was eating dinner and just couldn't taste anything. It was crazy. I ate my lunch just fine, but that evening, Friday the 13th, creepy day, but I just couldn't taste or smell anything. Didn't think anything of it. Never had it happen to me before. At that time, in the beginning of March like that, people didn't really know about COVID. Or at the time, they were calling it Corona. It wasn't even called COVID then. It was just in China. The symptoms people really didn't know about. They just kept telling us to look for fever, and cough. Well, I had the fever, didn't have the cough. The taste and smell loss was not a symptom at the time. So I just, didn't think anything of it. Stay home a few more days and start to feel better. I actually went back to work March 24th. So literally from March 11th to the 24th, I was at home. My job was a little afraid. I wasn't necessarily home because I was sick. They actually told me to stay home because of the situation with my daughter's school. Since she was so close to the teacher that had been diagnosed, they didn't want to risk me bringing possible coronavirus to work, which I guess was a blessing because I did in fact have it or was sick with it, didn't know I had it at the time. I went to the doctor that Monday. Actually, I think it was probably the 24th was the day I went to the doctor because I just didn't feel myself. I still had a lot of fatigue. I was still sluggish. Even though I did go back to work, I was still feeling that way. My body was still really achy. And then I started this cough. So I go to the doctor. Oh, Felecia, you're young. You don't have any health issues. You probably just have a cold. We're going to give you some antibiotics because we think you have a respiratory infection. Man, have I been told that so many times during my COVID journey. Upper respiratory infection. So he sent me home with antibiotics and a steroid. Nothing happened. Nothing got better for me. In fact, I just kept getting worse and worse. Within 48 hours, I couldn't go up the stairs anymore in my house. I go to the top of the stairs and just literally could not breathe. I felt like I ran a marathon. So it got to the point where my nails and toes would get blue. My lips were starting to turn purple. My husband said, you know what, I can't take this anymore. My family was having a fit. Outside family who don't live with me were calling, Felecia, we heard you've been sick. You know, this corona thing is getting really bad. We would think you should go. So I go to Northside Hospital. I had a cousin that was a nurse there. She assured me that, you know, you can get a test. Because I've been to the doctor 3 times at this point. No one would give me a test. They didn't have them available. But she assured me that Northside had tests available. You're my cousin, your family. I'm a nurse. I'll make sure you get your test. Well, when we get to Northside, my husband and I, it was very scary to say the least. They had tents everywhere. People in hazmat suits, full PPE. They made sure that my husband could not get out the car. You got to come through these tents by yourself. And my husband and I do everything together by myself. You know, these tents, these people in full PPE clothing, white hazmat suits. But I knew it was something I needed to do because I just wasn't getting better. I had a household of 11 people. So I had a lot of people at risk. 4 children, my husband, my mother is here with me. She's 65. My father-in-law is here. Both have pre-existing conditions. So I knew how important it was for me to get this test that my cousin told me that I could get. So I go to this tent. I'm immediately approached by 2 or 3 nurses. They shove a thermometer in my mouth. I didn't even get a chance to speak. They just shove it in my mouth. Wanted to see if I had a fever. I did not have a fever. And that's also a misconception with COVID. They keep having you check fevers, and when you go to the doctor's office, even today, you don't necessarily have to have a fever. I did run a fever, but it was only for 48, 72 hours max. So at this point, I didn't have a fever, but I had all the other symptoms. I had the body aches, the chills, the loss of taste and smell, the migraines, and all of that. So she got on the microphone, this little walkie-talkie, said, we got another one. Scared the crap out of me. What does that mean? We have another one. They come in there, they run me in there quickly through the ER. They whisked me through so fast, they didn't even stop me to ask me about insurance. They didn't have me do registration. Anyone that's been to the ER knows that you go through the process of registration. Skip that. They immediately put me in a room. They had this plastic covering. They alerted me to take all my clothes off from head to toe, all the way down from my socks to my underwear. They gave me plastic bags. They wanted me to put everything in plastic bags, zip it up. You know, I'm this, oh my God, this contagious. It was like a movie. You know, everyone was afraid of me. No one wanted to come close. No one wanted to dare touch me. And I guess I couldn't take my clothes off fast enough. And the nurse said, I'm so sorry, Miss Jester, but we have to hurry up and get you out of your clothes, because I had on something from outside, bringing it inside of the hospital with COVID-19 or coronavirus at that time symptoms. So she goes start pulling off my shoes for me and shoves them in plastic bags. That was terrifying for me. It was very cold. Like I said, I was by myself. They took my cell phone from me. Mind you, my husband is outside. He would not leave my side. He had to sit in the car. No one knows what's going on with me at the time. I had about 3 people on me. I had someone taking my temperature again within 10 minutes. I had somebody else taking my blood pressure. Somebody else immediately on my arm starting the IV. They just did all of this. Not knowing what was really wrong with me. My saturations, my oxygen levels, everything appeared to be normal. At the time, they were like 90%. Mind you, my nails and lips and everything was still blue. But it wasn't in a danger zone where I needed a ventilator at the time. My blood pressure was extremely elevated. Never had blood pressure issues. In fact, I still having elevation of blood pressure. It comes and goes. Literally yesterday, my mom bought me a blood pressure monitor. I'm having to check that daily as well. But at that time, it was spiked. The doctors were scratching their head. They was all puzzled. I said, hey, are you going to test me? He said, well, who's all in your home? 11 people. There were 6 children here at the time. Like I said, my mother, my father-in-law, my husband, and I have a special needs brother that lives here as well. Told him about the high-risk family members that were here. And he said, okay, if we test you, you would not be able to go home. You would have to stay here at least 7 to 10 days. I do want to let you know, if you stay and don't have it, you're probably going to get it by staying here.